Oh my god, I have my hair tie too. I have the exact same hair tie. This one, yeah, yeah.
I think all black hair ties look the same. Kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
So welcome, Audrey.
Thank you
No,
for having
welcome,
me.
Audrey. Okay, so first question: what kind of compositions do you make?
I make classical composition. My specialty is string orchestra pieces, but I've been dabbling in other things like piano pieces and string quartets.
Dang. So, like,
And
when you compose these things, how do you start? Because there's like a bunch of different parts, right?
Yeah, it really depends. Sometimes I start with a melody. Sometimes I just think of like the harmony. Sometimes I think about like the whole entire concept itself. Sometimes I start big, sometimes I start small. Really.
and where do you usually get the inspiration?
Like my own life. There's pieces where like I think about my own feelings and reflections, and then I write a piece on that. And then sometimes it's just like random things. Like I wrote a string quartet about a clock once because I was staring at a clock. So
How long does it normally take you to write these or compose them?
on average a few months, but there's like been times where I had to like write in like a short time frame for like an assignment, or like composition camps. They only give you like a week or so. So like it's anywhere from a week to like a few months.
Cool. So when you said like composition camp, like do you guys just learn composition there?
Yeah, I just did one actually this summer at Interlochen. They had us taught us classes about like music theory and like how to like make our scores look neat and such stuff like that. And then they had us like write pieces, and then we got professional recordings at the end of it. So that was really fun.
Oh my god. Wait, so like professional recordings, do you mean like there's an actual orchestra to play your piece?
Yeah, like we had like a string quartet players, like we had like a professional piano play. So
That's really cool. How do you decide which instrument gets the melody?
well,
Viola.
usually, I mean, like when I first started composing, my intention was to have everyone have the equal melody. So in my earlier pieces, everyone does. But as I progress later, it's like which instrument I think fits the mood best.
So yeah, like how often do you usually compose? Because I learned from a friend that usually a composition might take a long time to do it. So
Well, I take composition classes every week, so of course I would I do it during my lessons, and then I do it before my lesson in preparation for my lessons. So.
Oh, and like when you go to camps, and oh wait, first like is it online or do you go there physically?
Well, because of the current pandemic, we've done a lot of online stuff, but like it used to be like in person.
Oh, so like when it was in person, how do you find this environment different from that of school? And do you get any inspiration from communicating with the other composers?
Yeah, definitely. We can bounce our ideas off each other. Like I had a really close group of friends in my composition camp 2 years ago, and we would bounce ideas off of each other, make jokes, and then that would help me like think of stuff to write.
Awesome.
So Dr. K has been using your compositions for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So how did that start? Did you like approach him, or did he like ask you because he learned that you composed?
Well, so the year I started composing, I had help it was the year before Dr. K came to the middle school, so that Miss McCann was the director at that time. I'm not sure if you met her before, but so she left the year. So after the year I started composing, she left. So she was the one who helped me, and then I approached Dr. K and said, "Hey, I started composing last year. Would you be interested in taking a look at it and playing it?" And he said, "Sure." And I ended up having 2 pieces played that year. So
That's really cool.
Cool.
thank you.
So, in addition to chamber music, you probably also write symphonies. But then symphonies, wait, you do write symphonies, right?
Actually, I have not yet. I want to try it.
Oh my
sometime,
god,
but
that's cool. But So for like the kind of chamber for the kind of chamber music that does involve a lot of instrumentation, like how do you ensure that what you write are precisely what you already have structured in your head?
Well, because I play in the orchestra, so like the most I've written for, I think, is like string orchestra. So because I know the orchestra well, I kind of just take my experiences from that and just like put my own ideas into it. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, do you have any like specific examples? Because I know like some of my friends, they kind of model their pieces off of like different composers. Yeah, so how about you?
I take inspiration sometimes. It really depends. One of my old composition teachers at camp said the good composers write, great composers steal. So you like taking inspiration from composers is something like I sometimes do. Like for like recently, I just wrote a piano piece for my grandmother's birthday, and she really liked Chopin, so I tried to model my pieces off of Chopin.
That's kind of insane.
I know.
That's so
I try my
impressive.
best.
So, because I know sometimes, like, you know, like hip-hop artists like listen to a lot of hip-hop and stuff. Do you listen to a lot of classical? Is that like your main genre, or do you have like a mix?
A mix. I have two genres I really like. I like classical and K-pop. They're very different from each other, but
Same. Yeah,
I think I learned a lot from both genres, actually.
yeah. So in terms of classical music, like there are obviously many different styles of composers, and from what time period do you like best, and how do your composition, like, I don't know, maybe draw inspiration from it?
My favorite has to be the Romantic era.
Me too.
Like Tchaikovsky,
Yeah.
Mendelssohn, Dvorak.
Yo, I love Dvorak. Oh my
You
god.
say?
Okay, sorry. I'll shut up.
It's okay. No.
Right. Oh, like by the way, when you said you model your piano piece off like Chopin, then how did you, how do you do that?
So I listened to a bunch of his pieces, and I kind of tried to capture the feel he was going for, because my grandmother really likes his waltzes, so I tried to write a waltz similar to that kind of style, because yeah.
So how long are your pieces? Usually?
It depends. Like I average, I think, 3 minutes. The piano pieces are usually shorter.
For the piano, is it just solo piano, or is it like piano along with other chamber?
Solo piano. Usually.
Cool. Oh my god. Yeah, so like for piano, there's usually left hand and right hand. So do you think sorry. So like do you usually think for the melody first, or do you think of the entire big picture first? Like,
it really depends. Like I learned at composition camp, like sometimes like different pieces, like you need different ideas, like different starting ideas. So sometimes, like if I can't think of like the big picture, I start with like the melody, like a small part of it, and then if I can't think of a small part of it, I think the big picture. So it depends. It's different for every piece. That's what makes it fun.
Have you ever thought about writing for, I don't know, like a band or something? Just something not string orchestra?
Yeah, at camp I've tried like writing for like oboe and clarinet. So I tried that this year. That was really fun. Even
So what are
so like when did you realize that you have like this capability to compose?
7th grade. So I started because my social studies teacher at the time, he's announced to the class, oh, I'm starting this new club called Passion Project, where you can do whatever you want, like pursue what your passion is. And I thought, oh, I'll try composing, because in orchestra I was like, oh, the pieces we're playing are cool, but I really want to play, but since I'm a second violin, I wanted to play the melody for once. So I was like, I'm gonna write a piece that everyone can have the melody. So then I was like, that's my passion project idea.
Oh my god, you're making like a social comment. I get it. Soul equality, honestly, such a great cause. Yeah.
Do you think, do you think like, I don't know, your school orchestra has affected your like composing?
Yeah, definitely. I think my experience in playing orchestra, like it helps me, it inspires to get ideas like the one I had about making everyone equal. That's that was one of the ideas from orchestra, and also it helps me like because I know what it's like to play. I kind of feel pity on the players, so I try to do my best to make sure that the parts I write are playable and something they would like to play.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot about composition is just your idea of phrasing, of like how you know which notes will generate like that like tension and the resolution. So probably that has a lot to do with your playing. And how did you get this feeling of like phrasing? Like when did you start knowing the art of it?
I started composition lessons in 9th grade, so like that's where I like thought more of the technical parts of it. Like before that I was just kind of playing around. But yeah, that's where and then I started taking like music theory classes, and then composition camps. So that also helped me like think about the technical part of it.
When you're composing, do you like test out the melodies or the harmonies on a piano or a violin first, or like GarageBand or something?
So I use a software called Noteflight, and it has like automatic playback, so I use that most of the time. Sometimes when I'm in class and I'm just bouncing ideas off, I would use the piano. I use the violin more like at the end, like kind of like if I want to see if it's playable enough, I will use the violin.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of playing the violin itself, like do you practice a lot, and how do you improve your technique?
I don't think I practice that. No, I practice. Well, actually, I'm technically on a break right now because of because I took a break starting like the middle of last year because of academics, so I didn't have much time to pursue violin. So I had to unfortunately sacrifice it. Before then, I would try to practice every day, and I went to classes to try to improve my technique. But it's not the best part. So.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been playing the violin?
Yeah.
I think I started in kindergarten.
Dang.
Very.
It's not that great. I'm not gonna lie. I think my composing is probably better, even though I started it later.
Interesting. Then, what is your favorite violin piece to play?
I don't know. I really like to play. I played a piece called Celui d'Amour right before I took a break. That was really fun to play. I think it was really pretty. So
Jocelyn was like, "What?"
Trying to think if I've ever played it.
Yeah, I know. By Elgar. Not sure if you heard of him.
Right. And previously, when you said like you loved Dvorak and all of those romantic composers, is there any particular aspect of their music that you like?
I really like how pretty they sound. Yeah, kind of superficial. But also like a lot of the romantic composers also like dabbled in ballet, and like another passion of mine is dance. So like ballet is kind of perfect because it's like classical music and dancing at the same time. So
where do you dance? Oh, sorry.
Can you repeat that, please?
Where do you dance?
Well, I dance in our school company, Wellesley High School moving company. So that's.
Oh my god. Then did you ever thought about writing any music for your dance class or anything like that?
I have actually. I have composed stuff and then I've choreographed to it myself and we performed it.
Oh my god, is it ballet?
The one I was choreographing this year, yes, it was. The first one I did in sophomore year was more, I guess, contemporary-ish ballet. It was a mix of different styles. So I wrote a string quartet at camp called Collapsing Clock, and then I took that idea and I put it into a dance, and then we performed it in sophomore year during our Footnotes concert.
Cool. And how was the audience's reaction?
It was great. Actually, my favorite story is that somebody actually emailed my dance teacher saying that she specifically loved my piece. So I was very honored by that. I was so surprised. I was take it.
So, basically, like for school, I know a lot of people who also have their own passions but find it very difficult to balance it with their school life. So how do you usually balance that?
I always set some time in the day to compose. Like I feel like it's important to have that balance between like work and play, I guess. Well, this is kind of play because I actually enjoy doing it. So yeah, like sometimes like I would do it during my like study hall. Like when I'm really like stressed, I would like shift to composing, and it's like I relax more if I do that. So. I think just trying to find time and just thinking like, oh, I need a break, and then that's when you would do it.
And do you like lean towards slower pieces with like, you know, beautiful melody, or do you go like faster, like staccato things?
I like faster. I like to write faster music, like stuff with humor, stuff with.
Ooh, interesting. Oh my god. Yeah, actually, never mind. But right. So when you were talking about like this balance thing with academics, how do your parents like completely support your thing for competition?
Yeah, actually at first they didn't know about it, so they were very surprised when my first performance. But now they're fully on board. They pay for my composition lesson. They encourage me to go to these camps and like submit for contests. So that's
cool. And how well do you do in these contests?
Well, actually, I was a finalist in one, but I mean, like, it's kind of different. Like, competition is very hard to judge, I feel like, because everyone has their own, like, interpretation. Everyone has their own, like, thoughts and feelings going into competition, so it's very hard to, like, judge on an objective scale. So, like, if you're not, like, a winner of a contest, it doesn't mean you're bad or anything. It's just that the judges had one way of thinking about it, you had a different way. So, I think that's a very interesting thing about competitions is that it's really hard to like judge.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned dance earlier. Did you, besides like the moving company, have you ever been to like another studio, or is the moving company kind of your first like experience with dance?
I danced at a studio called Miss Michelle's Center for the Performing Arts, but unfortunately it closed down before sophomore year. So.
And have you ever, because you said you liked K-pop, have you ever like tried to learn a K-pop dance or like choreograph something in that style?
I've tried to learn a bunch of K-pop dances. I wanted to branch out from just like I studied ballet, but then I was like I want to learn more, so I tried K-pop dance because it's kind of similar to hip hop. So I was like I'll try it. I've done a bunch, but I don't know if I'm that great because it's a very different style. So, but I haven't really choreographed in it before. I would like to try though, but mostly when it comes to choreography, I focus on my own music because I feel like because I write the music, I can like choreograph it and do it justice because I won't offend myself. Whereas like when you're choreographing to someone else, I'm like nervous because like, oh, what if I don't get the original artist message across? So.
And in terms of choreographing K-pop dances versus ballet, how different do you find it to be?
It's very different because I feel like with K-pop and like hip hop, like very like that kind of dance, it's more like about your natural flow, whereas ballet is very strict and like based on rules. So that's the difference. Like ballerinas are usually kind of stiff at hip hop because like they're so used to like having to put everything at like a strict position, whereas in hip hop it's just more like flowy and kind of like do your own thing. I think that's from my experience.
Cool. And just to bring the topic kind of back to music, so you obviously like heard a bunch of like different kind of composers, and my flute teacher always tell me that different composers from different countries kind of have their own unique style. So what are your thoughts on this, like in terms of this comparison of composers between different countries?
I think that my orchestra teacher, Dr. K, actually mentioned that once, like when we were playing like a Japanese inspired piece, like the composer is Japanese, so he was like, you can't take the country out of the composer, which I think is true. So like you can, like sometimes you can tell immediately what country they're from because of the music style. Well, my family's from China, but I personally have grown up here, so I think I have a more of a Western style of composing. Although I recently just wrote a piano piece that's kind of like Chinese style, but
so when you throw in, sorry, I keep on cutting you off. When you like throw in these like I guess Chinese elements, where do you get it? Because I feel like for most things like video game music or just like normal like I don't know backing music, when it's Chinese they just throw in like flutes or like bamboo flutes or like guzheng and stuff like that. Like it's kind of hard to do that without those instruments. So how do you incorporate it?
There's this thing called the pentatonic scale that like Chinese traditional music is uses a lot.
Yeah. Oh, so you just like abide by that scale?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh yeah. So when composing, do you just abide by that scale?
Yeah, like with that particular piece, yeah. Because if you do anything that's outside that scale, it sounds really, you can tell
Wrong.
immediately. Like I remember when I was editing, I was like, oh, that sounds wrong. And then I realized, oh, it's not part of the scale. So
probably like, yeah, like around the last questions-ish. So learning like music theory and all of that composition stuff, that obviously takes like a lot of studying and a lot of knowledge. Do you ever find that kind of stressful and kind of boring down on your passion for composition?
sometimes, yeah, I think it's natural to feel that way, especially if I feel like if you take a passion too seriously, like it's sometimes like you lose your love for it but then I always like try to like center myself, be like, no, you like this for fun, you keep doing this for fun. And like I try to like not take it that seriously.
So earlier this year, my orchestra tried to do something with improv, and they tried to have like students like improvise like on the spot and stuff like that. Like, do you think that like because you studied like music theory and you compose and stuff, like are you good at improv? Do you think it matters, or are they like kind of not that related?
I think they're not that really. I think, well, I have never really tried improv on violin. Like with dance, I feel like it's more related. Like choreography and improv are more related than like composing and I guess in music kind of, because I never really done improv, so I wouldn't really on music, so I really wouldn't know anything about that.
Isn't improv like more jazz?
Yeah, jazz. It's a more jazz thing. Yeah, it's definitely more of a jazz thing. I don't do jazz, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did a jazz unit. Sorry, forgot to mention that.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess like that's basically all of our questions. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't know. I don't think so. This was really fun. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.